Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
If you want the best clean and wash experience, you need to catch the happy wave at Tidal Wave Auto Spa. Don't settle for streaks, dirt residue, water spots, and weak vacuums that you can get at just any car wash. At all our locations, you will be greeted by a smiling attendant who will pre-wash your car front and back to remove any stubborn bugs and dirt before guiding you through the tunnel, where your car will be treated to the ultimate spa treatment with state-of-the-art equipment and one-of-a-kind wash experience that will give your car a showroom shine. Afterwards, you can help yourself to our free powerful vacuums, cleaning cloths, and glass and surface cleaner for the perfect finishing touch. When it comes to caring for your car, don't settle for any wash and pay for all the extras. Get the best when you catch the happy wave at your local Tidal Wave Auto Spa.
To all the Chevy Silverado owners out there, the adventurers and the doers.
Hidden Garden, located just off the square in downtown Lawrenceburg, is your hometown oasis for massage, aesthetics, full hair and nail services, and body waxing. Gift certificates are available, and be sure to follow them on Facebook for their specials. The Hidden Garden, your peace, your place. 222 Pulaski Street, Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, or phone 931-762-9799.
Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
And welcome to the Back Nine, brought to you by Wohali Sports here, a very special edition here on this beautiful Thursday morning. AJ Good joined alongside Daniel Curo, Jason Vaughn out here for the week, but we have a very special guest here joined by UNA women's head coach Neil Self. Neil, thanks you for joining us here this morning.
Thanks for having me. I was happy to get the invitation. I love coming out here. This is an awesome place.
So Neil, just kind of describe what the season's been like for you guys. You got the fall portion of it done. You obviously have the spring portion coming up in February and March. Just tell us how the fall went for your girls.
I thought it was a solid fall. We didn't get a win, or I don't think we played as well as we could have. But historically, we've needed the fall to just kind of see where we are, see where we need to develop, kind of grow as a team. It was a success as far as what I think it built on for the spring for us. So I'm really excited for the spring.
Yeah, you did have some good finishes. Finished second place in one tournament. I think it was 7 and third of the other. So it wasn't terrible by any stretch of the imagination. You guys did play pretty well.
No, and that's the thing. The competition, the margins are so thin nowadays that, 5 strokes is the difference between a 6th place finish and a 3rd place finish. And it's good for the team to learn that and to realize that it is really, really small. And the difference, 2 shots, 1 shot over, a tournament where you take 900 strokes, it's hard for them to realize that until they experience, playing that tournament and looking back and seeing a shot here or there, and then looking at the scoreboard, and we're 2 behind a team that we really want to beat. Yeah. So it serves as a good motivation tool.
Yeah, for you, you've been the head coach at UNA since the transition. Mm-hmm. What has that experience been like? They go from D2 to D1, and you've been there ever since the start of that.
It's been a lot of fun. There's only probably a handful of coaches up there now that were there when we started the transition to now. Just to see, maybe what the public doesn't see as far as the resources we have and what we've done to, just build every program up. And you look at the results, and there's still a long way to go. But from inside, just seeing how far we've come, it's really exciting. Look, in the off season, like now, I turn into more of a fan.
Yeah.
So, I'm watching the other teams, and you saw soccer last week. They made the finals in the ASUN Championship for the second time in the transition. We've got a big volleyball game today versus Kennesaw State. Those programs that you look at them, volleyball 2 years ago, and see where they are now to be in the ASUN Championship. And it's just testament to the athletic department and, their vision and us kind of executing that vision.
Danny?
Man, so I don't know if you know this, but high-level golfer here, played at LSU. I guess you were there just before. We never got to see each other on the course when I went to Bama. I don't remember. But going through that experience in that D1 level, when you were there, now that UNA's Division I, what did you? How do you compare it to how it used to be, or is there any difference? I remember bigger gaps in the tournaments between first, second. Usually the top of the leaderboard would be closer, but throughout the field, seventh place typically wasn't in contention. But are you seeing, is it just because the talent's so thick nowadays and there's so many more golfers?
Yeah, it's so deep, and then there's more. International has become a bigger part of it. Especially with like a mid-major like UNA, the tournaments we play, there's teams that have these international players that all five of them are international. It seems like it might be a little bit different at the Power 5 schools, but there's still international flavor on every team.
Is it hard to recruit local, losing them to the bigger schools, and then maybe a little easier to get internationals into your program, or do you notice much difference when you're recruiting?
No, it is. It is. It seems like kind of the Alabama players that are elite. It's hard to, if they have interest from, a bigger school, it's definitely an uphill battle to try to get them here. But it's not impossible, and we still try. You really never know what the player wants in a university.
You've got good facilities. You can practice at RTJ, which is an awesome range, huge range. The course is as hard as you want it. Then you got Turtle Point. The university is beautiful, so you got a lot of things working for you.
Yeah, we certainly do. And we're, we don't assume anything in the recruiting process just because we feel, and in golf especially, we like you said, we have awesome facilities. The courses are. We'll put Turtle Point up against any course anybody plays, basically. RTJ's got an awesome practice facility, so we have everything we need to succeed.
That's awesome, man. Well, you've done good. You've been there how many years now?
This is my 6th year.
That's awesome. Congrats, man.
Thank you.
Good luck in the spring.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
So, what do you look for in a player when you're recruiting them? What kind of things that, you focus on and what you want to see when you're bringing someone to UNA?
Oh, well, usually the obvious thing is score. Their scoring average.
Yeah.
You see that's kind of what catches your attention. And then, you look at golf swing, they're technically sound. Krill and I have talked before about, apex height and landing angle and things like that. Those are certainly positives when you're evaluating a player. And then you get to know them and comes the intangibles. Are they going to be a good teammate? Do they love golf? Is it their number one priority? Because at this level and kind of where the program is now, we need those players that are, just obsessed with golf, who love golf, who want to talk about it all the time, who want to go out there and practice, who just need to play and love to play out there, be out there and play. And, after that, you just get to know them and see if they're going to be a good fit with your current players. But, mainly it's talent.
Yeah, the simple part of it, right? Is the talent
Now,
part
you
of
do
it.
see in women's golf there are kind of a rate of progression.
Right.
It seems, for some reason maybe a player didn't start taking it seriously till 3 years ago or 2 years ago. And if that player is, has a lot of speed or a really good golf swing and has shot under par a couple times, maybe doesn't have a tournament resume for D1, but you see them 2 years down the road being something that can really help your team, and also a player that's probably under recruited. So we, certainly had instances of that.
Yeah. So tell us, what do you expect kind of out of your players? What kind of program you got your players on right now? I know it's difficult kind of because you're in between seasons here. Just what kind of things you have your players doing this time of year?
Right now we're doing just kind of maintenance. That they're all finishing exams, and the golf season is so long. But for the fall and the spring, it's nice to have a little bit of a break. Yeah, it's nice to. So it's definitely more relaxing time. Mainly, it's kind of just talking to them about the state of their games. Yeah. This year we've implemented kind of a strokes gained, data tracking of all the different facets of your game. So we have, what I feel is probably the most complete picture of each individual player. At the current time. In the past, this is the first year we've done it, and in the past, you look at a player and like, she seems like she's driving the ball well, but you don't really know. Yeah. But when you kind of track every single shot and you have that just large sample, I mean, you know exactly where they're gaining and losing shots. And so that's been really helpful. And then, just keeping them motivated, keeping them excited for the spring, and letting them, study and catch up on everything, and kind of be college students at the same time. Yeah,
like you mentioned, how much do you guys use like the analytics part of it? You're looking at, say maybe ball speed or height and all that stuff when you're analyzing a swing that kind of help them improve.
During the season, I don't use it all that much. I'm not a swing technician. They usually have their coaches that they'll communicate back and forth from. And the truth is that there's a lot of qualifying, and the season is kind of compressed. So you're looking at 2 months, and you're traveling pretty much every week. Yeah. And there's not a lot of time to explore new ideas. Yeah. But and like I said, with the kind of the data that we use, if there is a problem, and it's just a judgment as a coach, like, do we want to attack this right now in the middle of the season? Yeah. Is it a state that, in the next 2 weeks to 3 weeks that we can actually improve in this area of the game? So it's just a balance of using, the technology, which is, the most important thing in the swing, but using that in the context of a season is a little bit different.
Yeah. And like you mentioned earlier before about kind of supporting some of the other sports, me and you were talking about the big basketball doubleheader coming up on Saturday there. Just how often do you want to see your girls kind of in the stands while they're watching the other athletes play?
Oh, I like seeing them at every event that we don't have practice for, we're not traveling for, and it's not a hard ask. They love going. Those basketball games are really exciting now with I don't know if you've seen the vault and the student section. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a wild time. So they really enjoy it. And it certainly seeing other teams and the success they're having, makes me want to think, let's do this. This is our time. Let's take part of this too. Yeah.
Yeah. Dan, you got anything else?
So the strokes gained is awesome. I implement that with my students. It's a new program that I'm offering and trying to get all the high schools in because it's an easy way of looking at things. So what program do you guys use?
It's called Circles.
Circles, okay. Not familiar with it. I use Swing U. So what do you look at on that? How do you analyze it, and how close do you analyze it?
Well, you just keep track of the rounds you play, and then it'll have. You look at proximity. You look at total driving or just driving. And then there's putting, and there's short game, which is inside 80 yards. And then they have, you can look at proximity 80 to 100 yards, proximity 100 to 125 yards. And yeah, it's been, I think, really valuable for me as a coach to see that, and it's really good for them to, just because golfers, they don't always accurately assess their round and the situation. And like putting, they kind of or even, you know, wedge shots. They kind of expect too much. And when they look at, you know, a benchmark on circles, it's not the PGA benchmark, it's like LPGA scratch benchmark index they use. So they can look at that and, you know, maybe a putting round that, you know, that for some reason they thought was terrible. You know, it wasn't. They're just expecting to make every 8 or 10 footer, or they're expecting to hit a wedge shot within, you know, 5 feet, which is, you know, unrealistic. So it takes a little bit of just, it just lets them just kind of more of accurate assessment of where their game is.
Yeah, I think it's great. And you brought up a question earlier talking about, hey, to use the TrackMan. They have a TrackMan that they get to use, which is an awesome resource. Not every university has that. You know, basically you have the summer and the in-between seasons to work on your game. Strokes gained is something where, hey, what area of the game can I improve each week? It's out just really putting in reps and not really a swing technique or a swing change. It's more of just focusing on
performance practice.
That's it.
And I love the performance practice aspect of it. Like with circles, you can say, okay, you have your average proximity from 100 to 125 yards is whatever, 25 feet. Your goal for that day is that you'll hit 5 shots and take the median of it, and your goal for that day is to improve 10%. So it's to, you know, your goal would be 22 feet 6 inches. And it's not, it challenges them, but it doesn't overwhelm them or give them something that's impossible. You know, it's small incremental change, and that's what I really like about the program and love about just performance practice, because you're competing. You're not hitting meaningless golf shots.
That's right.
You're out there. You know, you have a set goal, and at the end of the day, you're not saying, I think I'm hitting it better. I think I think I got a little bit better today. And you say, yeah, I was better today because, you know, my average proximity was 5 feet closer than my goal.
Right.
So it's really cool kind of thing we're using.
I think that's great. Can't stress it enough, and my students, I push it. And we can talk more about it here in just a minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, coming up next here, we'll have more with Neil here on the Back Nine, brought to you by Wohali Sports.
Buying or selling a home has never been simpler or more professional than with Realtor Jacob Patterson guiding you through the process. Jacob is currently featuring this beautiful new construction property in Loretto, Tennessee, located near the Cherokee Hills subdivision.
Hi, I'm Jacob Patterson from Caldwell Banker Southern Realty, and if you're looking to buy or sell or interested in this home that we featured today, just give me a call or text at 931-279-1707 anytime, any day, and I'll be there to help you.
It's never too late to change your career or to go back to school. The decision to go back to school wasn't easy. Look at me, a wife, a mother, a degree in dental for 17 years. But here I am at LTC, studying towards a career in cosmetology, and it's been the best decision I have ever made.
Are you busy at home or at the office and can't get away for your favorite meal? Simply pick up the phone and call Wright's Delivery Service. Locally owned, locally operated, fast, friendly, and reliable. Phone 256-762-3031 or visit WDSordering.com.
If there ever was such a thing as a company that could do almost anything, well, Tennessee Properties is it. These guys know how to completely transform your existing home into something new, or just do it room by room. Need a new bathroom or kitchen? What about a fresh coat of paint? Even a new floor? Looking for dirt work? Tennessee has you covered. Oh, and you can even rent a dumpster from them too. That's Tennessee Properties. Visit Tennessee.com or phone 931-244-4602.
You're gonna see me shine, 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 walking on beams of light, 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 light.
Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
Welcome back to the Back Nine, brought to you by Wohali Sports here, joined once again by head women's golf coach over at North Alabama University of North Alabama. I knew I was going to mess that up. Neil Self here, and you guys were kind of talking about some programs that you guys use out on the course, talk about strokes gained, that sort of stuff, just kind of continuing that conversation you guys have. And you mentioned just how much of a great tool that it is, because it's a competition thing, that you're actually getting competition reads from what your girls are doing on the course.
Yeah, exactly, and it's something that you can measure, and it's something you can look at the end of the day and see how you did. And I think, I'm sure Krill stresses it with his students. It's just, you need to practice with something in mind. You don't need to just go out there and bang balls.
Yeah, so you got two different types of practice, which you got your random practice and your block practice, which you're probably familiar with. Most people, well, I don't know about most people, your really good golfers tend to block practice probably too much, where they just grab one iron and they're just banging balls and they're working on a drill, whatever that may be. Hey, I'm working on doing something at the top of my transition. They just constantly hit balls, hit balls, hit balls. And what I compare that to is if you practice 2 + 2, you get really good at knowing it's 4. Yeah. You have a test and you have 5 + 9 and you don't know the answer, because on a test you're going to have random questions. You got to practice it all. So when I tell my students, there's a time for block practice and random practice, and when you have a drill, you need to work on it, but you need to mix in that random test like you're out playing golf. You need to hit several different iron shots, several different clubs in the bag. Don't just focus on one thing. And the strokes gained, what it does is it pretty much zeroes in on all aspects of your game, and it tells you, hey, you need to really focus here on chipping. Your proximity to the hole is, not where it should be. You're only hitting one chip per round inside 10 feet, and you need to be at 5 feet to get that good shot. And then your sand saves, you need to work on this, and then you need to work on your pitch shots from this yard, and you know what I'm saying? Yep. And you can basically have a goal, the strokes gained, and for the people that don't know what strokes gained is, basically you have to have a benchmark, or it's comparing you to something, whether it's even par, the field, like in the PGA, you're going to see strokes gained. That's going to be on the field that tournament that week. So how you stacked up against the field that week, and what's cool about this app is it just stacks you up against just what the average LPGA tour player and what they do week to week. So it's a broad number, and it basically gives these girls an inside look on what they need to do to improve, and then they can take that app and go through it and practice all aspects of their game.
Yeah, and it takes a little bit if a player is not used to it. There is a little bit of a transition because they grow up just marking greens hit, fairways hit, and things like that on their scorecard, or count number of putts. Which can be one of the most misleading things ever.
Well, you can have 35 putts, and that sounds horrible. Tour average is 27, 28. But what if you hit 17 greens in regulation? You're going to have a lot more putts because you had a lot more looks at it.
Exactly.
It's an old way of keeping data. Strokes gained is where it is.
No doubt.
Obviously you're a Florence native. Was it ever kind of a dream of yours or a goal of yours to be a head coach at North Alabama?
No, I kind of came to coaching a little bit later. It just kind of happened to actually, I started out as Jason Vaughn's assistant when he was with the men. Just started out as a travel assistant for him. I was going kind of the PGA club route, and I don't know if he had a GA or something that kind of fizzled out in the middle of the year, but he called me and said he needed a travel assistant. I was like, sure, that sounds fun. But and that was a great experience, and that kind of got my got a taste for coaching. It was a really fun team. It was a really good team. Just kind of saw what college golf was about, and kind of the family aspect of it, and the travel, and I just really liked it. And I had a head full of golf knowledge that I would like to use it for something. So it was a good spot to land.
How was your experience at at the college side of things as a player? How did that help you as a coach?
Yeah, anytime that you're in a system and you in a team, you kind of see like what a program does and what works and what doesn't. How does a coach communicate? Whether it's a good experience or a bad experience. You certainly learn, and then you also just learn so much from being around good players. What they do, how disciplined they are, just how they think. Because at the D1 level, I mean, everybody hits it pretty good. Everybody puts it pretty good. Yeah, of course we try to improve those aspects, but it's mentality is kind of the difference.
Yeah.
So you learn about that and maybe how to implement it broadly to a team, for sure.
Got any good Jason Vaughn stories, or what was it like working for him, underneath him as a coach?
Oh, it was a lot of fun. We had a team that, I will say he could drive a Sprinter van. Really, we might have got pulled over a couple times that we still laugh about. But yeah, we have tons of stories about Vaughn that I think it's like a joke. I can't think of them on the spot, but I just see something to remind me of. But it was a great experience. He was a good coach, and there were a lot of good players come through UNA.
Obviously, you guys got the Thanksgiving break, Christmas break, and then you're come back to school and you're right back into it. What kind of things do you want to take from the fall season that you guys need to improve on, and what are the things that you did well that you want to move forward into the spring season?
For this team, it's mainly more of a solid belief. Mm-hmm. In the fall, I thought a lot of the times that everything we do, we practice to build confidence and to build belief in your own golf game. And a few times I thought, I kind of call it evaluating short-term results and letting that take your confidence away. Yeah. So kind of I'd say just fragile. Yeah. So building that belief to where, you hit a couple of bad shots and you don't build a narrative into the day. Yeah. We had a few times that, not just this year, golf in general, where, somebody plays and three-putt the first 2 holes and they say, okay, I'm going to putt bad today. Mm-hmm. Or, they're not driving it good through the first 6 holes and I'm just not driving it good today. Mm-hmm. We're trying to get out of that, just using the short-term results to build a narrative that influences the shot at the present or the shot in the future. Mm-hmm. And you really see that in a 36-hole day. You're giving up on your putter 6 holes into a 36-hole day because you think you're putting bad that day. That's going to be a long day. That's going to be a long day. That's kind of where we need to improve the most on this year, and I think we actually improved on as the fall progressed, and just little things like that.
Daniel, you got it?
Yeah, I think you hit on it really good there, and just being in the college level, and I know you've been there. And as a coach, I know what I would look for, and you mentioned it earlier. You look at talent first. That's kind of the first. Do these people, do they fit into the program talent-wise, what we're trying to get? Are they shooting the numbers? You got a lot of times you got a good solid 1, 2, and then usually the field gets weaker or your team gets a little weaker going on, so you're trying to replace those players. And then, again, if you can hit a home run and get another 1 player, that would be an A player, that would be awesome. But the team aspect, you're playing, it's an individual sport. That's what... You're grown up. You don't have you don't have a team. Basically, it's your parents dropping you off, and you're trying to kick everybody's butt, all the other juniors on the course. So you can become pretty selfish or arrogant, cocky. You don't work well with others. And then when you get to a high school level, it can be that way too, because you got, if it was like me, you have a couple of guys that took it serious, but a lot of them played multiple sports, and they really didn't care. You just had to have a team to go play. Luckily at Brooks, we had a pretty solid team. But, from a coaching standpoint, you got to find those players that mesh well and work well together. And for all the people that are watching that have kids, overcoming adversity on the course, like that first 3-putt, second 3-putt, and staying in it, if that player gives up, they're not just giving up on themselves, but they're letting the whole team down. Because you got to remember, it goes back. They're only 5 shots off, and they might drop 3 places because of 5 shots, and it could be that one player that gave up because they mishit a wedge and hit it in the water, and they thought they should hit the green from 80 yards, and it just happened. So how well a player handles themselves is super important throughout the day and throughout the round and not getting upset. I mean, if you went out on a recruiting trip and you saw a girl that is super talented, but yet she's banging clubs, dropping the F-bomb, whatever it may be, even if they're really good, are you going to be like, man, is this the right culture? Is she going to promote the right culture that I've built at the university? I don't know. And you see a lot of juniors doing that because they know coaches are watching them. There's a lot of pressure on them, but they don't realize how they're affecting the others around them because they're alone on the course. So just take a note for that, parents. You know, get these kids acting right and not giving up and not being too hard on themselves, because Brooks Koepka had an interview just recently, and he said his biggest change was when he realized to accept the mistakes, because golf is just a big mistake. All you do is make mistakes. You never hit the shot you want, because he's like, I'm trying to drive every green and I'm trying to hit the ball in the hole from every fairway. And you know what? I never do either one of those. So you got to learn how to accept mistakes.
Right.
And he's freed up and he's a better person because of it, on and off the course.
Yeah, I think freed up is a great term. You know, I talk to players coming in. It's like, you know, what do you think this program is going to provide you? Are you going to you ever think there's going to be a point where you hit every shot perfect, or your swing is exactly where you want it to be, or you're driving it well, your approach shots are really good, you're putting it good? Yeah, there'll be like very, very small times, like 1 or 2 rounds where that is actually clicking.
And enjoy the wave, because the wave eventually runs into the beach and it dies.
That's not the nature of the game, and you need to understand the nature of the game to be able to handle the downswings, and to not overreact and to not panic and to still post a score. And just to not freak out. And you know, you've seen golfers who just lose it, and it gets ugly. It gets ugly, and that's you know, part of the difference between individual and team. You know, in a college program, you're not allowed to be selfish and just let yourself implode or go on tilt like that. You have to just keep fighting for the team. But yeah, that's just the nature of golf.
It's tough.
It's very tough, and it's tough to understand.
It is, and I tell my students when I'm teaching them, my goal is not to make you hit good shots, it's to make your bad shots better.
Yeah.
So, and if you can understand that, and that is a loaded thought, it's how good your misses are, because if you hit a good shot, you hit a good shot, and I hit a good shot, we're all probably putting for that same birdie. But if I hit a bad shot, you hit a bad shot, and you hit a bad shot, you're definitely chipping or dropping. I'm still on the green somewhere, and Neil's probably still on the green somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
So I'm shattering a clubhouse window. Well.
Yeah, you're getting another ball out of the bag. So
sure.
That's my goal, is to make people's bad shots a little bit better, can make the game enjoyable. It's not teaching you how to hit good shots.
Yeah, it's improving your bad shots.
That's it.
That's a great term. Hey, we need to start writing these down. Daniel gives us these great nuggets every week. Well, Neil, thank you for joining us here on the Back Nine. And
thanks
good
so much
luck.
for having me.
Good luck. I mean, it's the old cliche, but that spring season will be here before you know it.
Sure will. Thanks a lot for having me.
All right, well, coming up next here, we'll dive into the mailbag here with Daniel here next on the Back Nine, brought to you by Wohali Sports.
Arctic Air keeps your home or business comfortable. For more than 20 years, we've provided outstanding residential and commercial services through southern Middle Tennessee. Whether you need assistance with your heat, air conditioning, preventive maintenance, or anything in between, trust our reliable team to get the job done. We'll take the time to figure out your specific needs and recommend what we believe is right and best for your situation.
We've been using Arctic Air for over 15 years now. Their service is great, they're here when we need them, and their prices are competitive. They take the worry out of the heat and air so I don't have to.
Arctic Air. When you need us, we'll be there.
Hey everyone, this is Landon Saunders.
And this is Nate Patterson with Cloud9 Fiber.
We're excited to finally be able to offer Lawrenceburg our blazing fast, reliable, and affordable fiber internet services.
If you're looking for a more reliable and more affordable provider, we at Cloud9 Fiber have you covered.
Plans start at $50 a month, and we can offer up to a gigabit to your home or business.
We are excited to be able to offer your first month of service entirely free. We encourage you to sign up on cloud9fiber.com or by calling 931-201-9098 so we can help you make the switch today.
What really matters during the ball game, discipline is not a popular word in our culture today. Yet we understand in sports that it requires a great discipline to compete at a high level. In Proverbs 3, verses 11 and 12, "My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline, or be weary of his reproof. For the Lord reproves him whom he loves, and as a father the son in whom he delights." Discipline is a good thing in all areas of life. Use it today and reap the rewards of it. And that message brought to you by your friends at the Leoma Church of Christ.
Got a dent, a ding, a scratch, or a bent fender? Major or minor, Car Country Collision Center in Leoma can fix you up. Car Country works with all insurance carriers, gives free estimates, can work on foreign and domestic vehicles, and has experience you can trust. They've been in business since 1990. Unfortunately, accidents happen, but you can get your car back on the road with as little hassle as possible with the help of Car Country. Call 931-852-4708 or stop by at 2567 Highway 43 South in Leoma.
Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
And welcome back to the Back Nine, brought to you by Wohali Sports. Digging into the mailbag here with Daniel, and we were talking a bit off air, Daniel. One of my questions that I have personally as I came out here to the range last week was, saw something on the Top Tracer app that got me thinking as someone who studies it a lot on the baseball side of things, which is ball speed. And, there's obviously, when it comes to baseball and golf, there are different factors. For instance, in baseball, the hardest hit ball in the regular season was 126 miles an hour. It was a ground ball, but the hardest hit ball in postseason history ended up 3/4 off the video board in Wrigley Field. So, but obviously those are two different factors, but one's a hard hit ball that didn't go anywhere. The other's a hard hit ball that there wasn't a video board there, it'd still be flying.
Right.
So how important is ball speed in a golf swing, or is it another kind of, could be a misleading stat?
It can be very misleading. Just as what you said, everybody's focused on the result, and one of them went way out of the park, one of them didn't.
Yeah.
But the one down low was it more powerful?
Yeah, the ground ball was
it was more powerful. The thing is a baseball bat doesn't have loft. It's perfectly round, so it depends where you hit it. It also depends how hard the pitch is thrown.
And where the pitch is thrown.
And where it's thrown, so what plane you swinging on and things like that. So a lot of external things out of your control. When we look at golf, the ball is teed up. You get to put it there. Typically, unless you're hitting out of the fairway or something, you can put the ball down in the same spot. You have time to stand there. The ball's not flying at you.
Yeah.
It should be on the same relative plane wherever you're setting up. So ball speed is really consistent data point to look at.
Yeah.
But the thing is you got to know your club speed.
Right.
So we call it smash factor, and this is super important. And if you're trying to get better at golf, kind of like we were talking, help make your bad shots better, not trying to train you to hit good shots. We're just trying to make you improve slightly so you don't have as many bad shots or really bad shots. So taking really bad to just bad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You've got to hit the ball solid first.
Right.
The thing is you can try to focus on hitting it straight all day long, but if you hit it straight and unsolid, you're not getting to the green anyway. So I'm really big on contact. So what we look at when we have the launch monitors here is we want to know club speed, and club speed lets me know how much power you really have And then what we do is we do ball speed divided by club speed, and that gives us smash factor. So you peak out at 1.5 is, in theory, where you should be with a driver. And as the irons get down, as you add more loft, the ball's coming off a little bit slower because we're getting more, it's not bouncing and going straight forward, we're actually going kind of more up to the sky. So a lob wedge the ball's going to be much slower than with a driver. So the smash factor on a lob wedge should be like a 1.4, 1.04, something like that. So what that basically getting to is you're over here just trying to hit, looking at maybe ball data, and were you trying to hit it harder and get it higher and higher, or what were you doing, or trying to look at the consistency of it?
Yeah, I was looking at the consistency because my ball speed, and like you mentioned, with the irons and the higher irons and hybrids was about 115 to 125, but my loft wedges and all that was about 105 to 115 was the ball speed.
So with the top tracer, we don't get club speed, but we can get ball speed. So you were using it correctly. Like, hey, I need to get it as close to numbers as possible. So if I'm hitting a 7-iron, tour average with a 7-iron is 123 miles an hour. You want to get 123 over and over and over. 120, 121, 124, 123. You got a tight little gap. That means you're hitting it fairly solid. But if you hit 20 shots and you've got 123, 110, 105, 111, all over the place, then you're not hitting it solid. So you don't have to have the smash factor and the club speed to do it, but it is a nice thing to have because I can just look at one metric and know if you're hitting it solid. And what I do is I have golfers come in and I'm like, hey, how did you hit that one? Oh, that was good. And they're just looking at the straightness of it. And I'm like, did you realize that you hit that, 4 millimeters or 8 millimeters off the heel, and on the bottom groove, your smash factor is like 8 points too low, and you didn't hit it good. Just having to see what people's awareness is. So I think ball speed is awesome. I think you were using it the right way, and I really think it's important that if you're out here, go through your bag and spend an hour just going through ball speeds and seeing how you set a goal. I want to hit it the same ball speed over and over and over for full shots for certain clubs.
Yeah, I thought I was happy with it. I'm like, I better ask the pros if I'm actually doing this right.
You were. Again, it's nice to have just smash factors, but again, you were using that metric appropriately out here.
I like smash factor. It's kind of, baseball stat, OPS, on base plus slugging. It's one thing to, hit for doubles and home runs, but how consistently are you getting on base with all of that? So I like the smash factor and combining those two statistics.
So what we can do is I need club speed. So if you came in for a session and you said, hey, we basically ask a lot of questions, do an evaluation. Hey, what's the perception of your game? Is it putting, chipping, irons, driver? Most people always say speed. So I'm like, okay, so what I do is put them on the machine, quantify their speed, how they're swinging then, and it tells me how fast the ball should be going. So say you swing 100 miles an hour, your ball speed should be around 152 miles an hour with a driver. And if you're at 138 and you feel like you're hitting it good, there's a problem, and we need to figure it out because you're about 12, 13 miles an hour, 14 miles an hour too slow based on the power that you're generating. So your swing speed is your power source. It's kind of constant. The ball speed is usually the variable that jumps around from time to time, and we got to figure out how to maximize that ball speed.
Now, kind of piggybacking off the conversation you and Neil were having about strokes gained, and you're talking about the different softwares and different, programs that you guys use. Even though they're different, but they're similar, but at the same time, they both accomplish the same goal, which is getting the strokes down and helping golfers improve.
Yeah, and I really think this is something that every viewer, if you have questions, call us at Wohali. We can get you the app on the phone. I work with a company called Swing You. They're excellent. And strokes gained is actually fairly new to me this year. And it's awesome because when somebody comes in for an evaluation, I have to go off your perception of your game because I don't go out and play with you. So I don't know how you handle yourself on the course. I don't know. Most people's expectations are unrealistic. Like Neil was saying, they expect to make every 8-footer. And if they don't, they think their putting is bad. But really, what this does is compares you to what you should be or what you are currently. So everybody's familiar with a golf handicap. That's basically how you play a course and how many over par you're going to shoot. So if you're an 8 handicap, you're going to average around 80, 81, okay? So this system compares you to a handicap, puts you in that category and says, hey, you play golf like an 8, but you have a goal of playing golf like a 5.
Yeah.
So what it's going to do is zero in on the areas of your game instead of just using the old metrics like Neil was talking about, just greens hit, fairways hit, how many putts I had each round. This is actually going to start quantifying and dissecting each one of those a little bit more, but you have to put the data in when you play.
Yeah.
I can usually key in the data that says, hey, did you hit the fairway? Yep. Was the lie good or bad? Yeah. How far did you have into the green? How close did you hit it? How many putts did you have? If you missed the green, did you get it up and down? Yeah. How close was your first putt? And all that, and literally you can enter that in 15 seconds between holes, and you get this pool of data that you can actually look at and see what you need to work on to get to your goal of a 5 handicap if you're an 8. And again, we're just throwing numbers out. You could be a 15 handicap and you want to be a 10. It's going to tell you what to work on. Yeah. And you don't have to come and get and overhaul your swing. It's just like, hey, you can come to Daniel, me or Jason, and just say, hey, I'm using this app and it's telling me for some reason that I'm missing the green more from 100 yards than I am from 120 yards. How do I improve that? And we'll give you a practice session and how to work on it week to week, and you don't have to have these complicated swing changes. Yeah. But if it requires a swing change and you have time for it, we can do that too.
Yeah, awesome. I've come to these guys. I mean, I've already seen, I haven't even gotten a lesson. I just listened to them, and it's been great. And they're available, and take advantage of it.
That's right. That's what we're here for.
For those in North Alabama and Southern Middle Tennessee, just short drive down the road, take advantage of these guys. All right, well, great week here once again. Next week we're off, obviously, because of Thanksgiving. I don't think you want us talking about golf when we got turkey on the minds.
No.
It's not a good combination. Well, we'll see you guys here in a couple of weeks here. So for Daniel Creel, for our producer Kevin Wright, I'm AJ Good. This is The Back Nine, brought to you by Wohali Sports.
Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.